You're not watching resistance. You're watching influence dressed up in virtue. And the media, of course they won't report any of it. Why would they? They love these protests. They love going against the current administration. They quote these NGOs like they're the gospel. This isn't about protest. It's about power. And when you fund the outrage, you get to shape the outcome. If your outrage came with a marketing team, a mission statement, $20 million donor pipeline, it's not a revolution. It's a campaign rollout. External funding for internal chaos wrapped in a press release. All right. Hey guys. Did you ever roll past a protest already annoyed, wondering how so many people have this much free time on a Wednesday morning? And then you notice something else. This is awfully organized. Matching signs, coordinated chants, lawyers on standby, hashtags preloaded like someone hit publish on a social justice campaign kit. And yet, somehow, we're supposed to believe this is spontaneous. Like Sheila from Instagram just threw on a bandana, called all her friends, and got 10,000 people to show up with color-coded signage and a mobile bail fund. No, this isn't organic. This isn't grassroots. This is a production, a performance. Someone's paying for it. I drove by one the other day. It was small, and I started thinking about this, and so I dove in. So I'd like to share it with you, what I found. This is about NGO Industrial Complex. That is non-governmental organizations, for those of you in the back. These aren't elected, they're not neutral, and they damn sure aren't broke. Because this isn't about truth. It's about who gets to manufacture the outrage. Who profits when they do. This is Stay in the Gray podcast. It's July 16th, 2025. Let's roll. So, what the fuck is an NGO? I'm going to break it down. NGO stands for, as mentioned, non-governmental organization. That sounds neutral, harmless, like a group of volunteers in Patagonia vests saving orphans and planting trees. But some of these NGOs, they're less about charity and more like offshore PR firms for global power players. They don't answer to voters. They're not subject to democratic oversight. But they have massive influence over media, protests, policy, and what you're allowed to believe. Some are legit, a lot aren't. The biggest ones, they're not just helpers, they're narrative managers. Here's the real kicker. These are the same NGOs. Most of them are always pushing left-wing narratives. It's just true. From open borders to equity economics to climate hysteria. While the left keeps shouting that Republicans are the party of billionaires. Then why are billionaire-funded NGOs coordinating the protests, shaping the headlines, and backing every movement against anything the White House promotes? You're not watching resistance. You're watching influence dressed up in virtue. And the media, of course they won't report any of it. Why would they? They love these protests. They love going against the current administration. They quote these NGOs like they're the gospel. They bury the funding. They treat them like neutral experts, not political operatives with 9-figure budgets and donor agendas. Because if the public was ever actually asked where the outrage came from, the whole act falls apart. Who funds this circus? Well, follow the money. The same people who own the platforms, fund the think tanks, and donate to every side of the aisle are bankrolling these NGOs. We'll start at the top. The lovely George Soros. $18 billion through through open society foundations, and yes, that includes direct funding to the U.S. campaign for Palestinian rights, the U.S. CPR, one of the key drivers behind the anti-Israel and pro-Hamas protests that we're seeing across the country.
The last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Are you that powerful?
No, I think there's a great misunderstanding. I think that I've been blamed for everything. I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do. You just heard it. This isn't some conspiracy theory. He said it himself. He funds global instability and shrugs at the fallout. It's just like cost of doing business in his eyes. How about the Gates Foundation, dishing out millions for online disinformation, watchdogs, and pro-migration campaigns? Because if there's one thing the world needs, it's more billionaires telling you what's true. We'll go with the Ford Foundation, supposedly fighting inequality, but really funding progressive legal activism and race-based policy agendas designed to dismantle power structures, as long as those structures aren't the ones writing their checks. How about the U.S. State Department, using your tax dollars to support democracy while quietly bankrolling protests and policy shifts overseas? This is soft power on steroids, with NGOs as the middlemen. Yes, it's being used here at home as well. Google, Nike, Meta, the virtue signaling metacorps. Nike will fund equity protests with one hand and crank out sneakers made by child labor with the other. Just make sure your Instagram post about oppression is captioned with the right brand partnership. And here's where the media comes in. They treat these NGOs like oracles. They quote their reports like scripture. They never ask, who funds this? Because they already know. They're in the same cocktail circuit with everybody. This isn't activism. It's asset management. You're not being informed. You're being handled. You think it's grassroots. It's not. It's AstroTurf. Fake grassroots. Bought and paid for. Real grassroots is messy. It's unorganized. It runs on duct tape, cardboard signs, and Venmo requests from college kids with $14 in their checking account. This stuff, it comes with color-coordinated signage, professionally designed protest kits, travel stipends, pre-written chants, digital toolkits, Slack groups, hashtags scheduled like a product launch. Bail funds ready before anyone's even arrested. That's not an uprising. That's activism as a service. You're not watching the voice of the people. You're watching a dress rehearsal staged by the same corporations that sell you resistance and climate policy merchandise, all from the penthouse. Here's the part that they hope that you don't hear. I've got some receipts for you. Take a look.
When I was out in Los Angeles protesting the ICE deportations for the past few days, besides the fact that I got paid $150 to do so per day, I kept seeing signs everywhere that this was being funded by somebody much higher than the person that I had met. For instance, they would give us certain streets or certain targets to go to, and on those streets, there would be pallets of things that could cause destruction to the community. I am not joking. For instance, you turn a corner, boom, there's a pallet of bricks. Oh, that's convenient. Let's destroy the community. And y'all know me, I'm a good guy, but I truly do not care that much about the ICE deportations. I just wanted that $150 a day.
These aren't revolutions. They're rollouts. And there's many more just like these people. Open our eyes. We need to open our eyes. Let's bring some more receipts. Because it's not just a theory if it's documented. Ukraine. So pre-2022, this is before Russia's invasion, US-backed NGOs were neck deep in Ukrainian civil society. Groups funded by USAID and the National Endowment for Democracy were running media literacy programs, political training, and digital organizing boot camps, all branded as pro-democracy, but every single one of them conveniently aligned with US State Department talking points. They weren't building democracy, they were planning it in advance. How about Arab Spring? Yes. The rage was real. The oppression was real. In country after country, people were suffocating under authoritarian regimes, skyrocketing food prices, police brutality, censorship, and youth unemployment. Those were really happening in these places. Not here, where they like to tell you it is. It was a powder keg over there, one spark away from eruption. That spark, in Tunisia, it was a street vendor named Mohammed Bouazizi, I think I did that right, who set himself on fire after years of abuse and humiliation by government officials. That single act ignited protests across the Arab world, Egypt, Libya, Syria, Yemen, and so on. But here is what most headlines will leave out. While the protests were authentic and the pain was real, the organizing tools, tactics, and digital infrastructure was not. A lot of that came from Western NGOs. Groups like Freedom House and Open Society funded nonprofits were providing digital security training, protest coordination tactics, encrypted messaging tools, even media training on how to go viral with the right protest footage. It wasn't all homegrown. It was part grassroots, part consulted, and packaged by Western interests. So what you got was a very real revolution with a global instruction manual. Black Lives Matter, the Global Network Foundation, in 2020. They raised over $90 million in a single year. Major checks came in from Apple, Amazon, Google, and Nike. But while the average protester was marching in old Nikes and gasping for air through a soaked mask, the co-founders were out buying multi-million-dollar homes. Patrice Cullors, one of the original founders, stepped down amid questions about where the money went and who got paid. The receipts were real. The accountability, not so much. Just to be clear, this doesn't invalidate the initial message, but it does expose the machine behind that faux movement. Sri Lanka, 2022, massive inflation, food riots, a full-blown government collapse, and in the middle of it all, NGO-backed protest camps, complete with stage setups, communication hubs, logistics teams. Investigative reports traced much of the infrastructure to foreign donors supporting democratic accountability. Translation: external funding for internal chaos, wrapped in a press release. If you watch some of the footage, it looks spontaneous. But underneath it, logos, grants, strategic plans, NGO networks. This isn't grassroots, it's geopolitical branding. So, you're asking, like I was, who's benefiting? Why would they do this? Who's cashing in? Well, let's be honest, no one's spending millions on pre-printed signs and mobile protest stages or legal bail networks out of the kindness of their hearts. This isn't charity, it's leverage. Governments benefit. NGOs give them cover to interfere without getting their hands dirty. Why invade when you can influence? They use NGOs like remote control diplomacy, install the narrative, spark the protest, reshape the regime, and call it organic. Billionaire donors benefit. They get tax write-offs, PR credibility, direct influence over public policy, and all without running for office. Why fund a political campaign when you can fund a revolution? Corporations benefit. Supporting activist causes gives them a free pass to do whatever the hell they want. Google censors dissent, but it's okay because they gave $5 million to racial equality. Nike exploits child labor, but they posted a black square in 2020. Meta, they track your every move, but they sponsored a climate march. So, progress, I guess. They don't actually care about the cause, they care about immunity. And the NGOs themselves, well, they rake in millions. Hire influencers, spin up media campaigns, build networks that stretch from boardrooms to barricades. They are the middlemen of modern power. Not government, not media, not elected, but trusted. And that's the most dangerous part. This isn't about protest, it's about power. And when you fund the outrage, you get to shape the outcome. So here you go. Here's how the scam works. An NGO writes a so-called independent report. The media swallows it whole and runs it as gospel. Then, activists quote it on megaphones and Instagram carousels. Finally, politicians wave it around Congress like it's divine scripture. Suddenly, one billionaire's private opinion becomes the data. And if you question it, you're anti-science, you're a threat, you're dangerous. This isn't journalism, it's not activism, it's narrative laundering, washing billionaire-funded spin through a maze of respectable institutions until it comes out squeaky clean and ready for mass consumption. These people don't investigate, they coordinate. They don't inform, they manufacture consensus. So the next time you see a breaking headline quoting some NGO fact sheet, ask yourself, I wonder who wrote it, who paid for it, and who benefits if you believe it. Because the chances are it wasn't written for you. It was written to control you. Let me be fair. I know some of you are thinking the same thing. Not every NGO is corrupt. Not every protest is fake. I can almost hear all of you going, but some of it's real. Some people really are fed up, and they have a right to peacefully protest, 100%. But when the same 5 names show up behind every grassroots uprising, every trending outrage, every protest that somehow has corporate sponsors and legal teams before the first sign even hits the pavement, that's not grassroots anymore. It's branding. If your outrage came with a marketing team, a mission statement, $20 million donor pipeline, it's not a revolution, it's a campaign rollout. And that's what this show was all about, basically. Because this world isn't black and white. It's influence wrapped in activism, wrapped in good intentions, and sold to you like a cause. I call that the gray area. And here, as you know, we stay there, because that's where the truth is usually hiding. Before my final point, remember, like and follow, subscribe, all the things. Let's stay together and grow and call this stuff out. Because, and to my final point, regular people are getting steamrolled by all of this. Can't get to work, can't open their business, can't take their kid to school without wading through chance, roadblocks, and chaos. People are being attacked, not heard. The real causes, they're being drowned out by billionaires playing protest puppet master. Here's the irony. If you're a genuine protester and you actually want to be heard, you should be the first to call this shit out. But you won't. Because once you strip away the donor money and the media fluff, you'll realize just how small and hollow your movement looks. So no, people like me don't want to hear about your cause anymore. Not when it's paid for, like a Pepsi ad. So, with that being said, stay thinking, stay asking, please stay laughing. We've got to try. Stay in the gray. Love you guys.